Balls. I am surrounded by balls. Why, you might be asking? Well, hold on. We'll come back to these. It's just I didn't plan that well. So the reason is that I recently received the ball that is in this particular box. And I have so many goddamn footballs that I tend not to buy new ones unless I actually have to, which is why we don't see a lot of ball reviews. However, this company, Hayworth Athletic, reached out to me and asked if I would like to review this particular football. And there's something about it that caught my attention. And I was like, you know what? Let's have a look. So, this is a very poor unboxing. I did film an unboxing, but didn't record. So, this is the box, and this is me taking the ball out of the box. The reason that I'm doing that is because within the box, the ball was actually in this really nice Hayworth Athletic wrapping. So the presentation was absolutely fantastic. And then in here as well, you get a needle so that you can inflate the ball along with pressure guidelines. There's a little magnet. And then you also got, which I really liked, hold on, there's a sticker. What you also got was this bag, this kind of canvas bag, which I think looks absolutely fantastic. And all the props to Hayworth for adding a few little extras to make the ball feel a lot more premium. And it's important that it does feel premium because this is not a cheap football. This is $130. I'm going to say that again because I just hit the mic. This is $130 US dollars. Now, it's a US based company based in Texas. And the thing that piqued my interest for this is that all of their balls are handmade in Colombia. So every single element of this ball is handmade. I believe it says it somewhere on the ball here. It does. You'll have to just trust me. Oh, is it here? Yeah. Made in Colombia, but it is hand stitched, and not just hand stitched, everything about it is put together. And Hayworth seemed to be making a big deal out of retaining that craft, the craft of making footballs by hand, which is great. And I love that they're supporting that industry, and I love that they're trying to do something a little bit different. But that's no good if the ball doesn't perform. So, does it? I need to get all my other balls back so we can do some comparisons. 1 second. Okay, so let's start with these three, in particular, this one. So this is not the top-end Nike ball. This is the Strike ball, which is essentially their takedown. I believe they call it an Academy ball now. And the reason that I want to compare it to this is because this is also stitched. A lot of balls these days have moved to various processes, the most popular being something called thermal bonding or thermobonding, which is what's holding all the panels of the ball together. So stitching is somewhat of an old style method or viewed as a cheaper method, which obviously can be perceived as a problem for this ball. I'm going to show you why it's not. So these two balls have had almost exactly the amount of play time. I got them at a very similar time. This is the current season Women's Super League ball. And you can see just by the way that this is constructed on all the panels, or at least I hope you can see, that the stitching is already very prevalent, and you can already see how it's kind of being stretched out, and potentially how this just isn't quite going to have the same level of durability as a thermobonded ball. You can see all of the stitching, and I'm already a little bit concerned about maybe that coming apart. Let's compare it to the Hayworth ball. Now, this is obviously smaller panels, but you can see that the way that this has been stitched and the way the ball is built is just of a much higher quality. They've done a really good job here, and I'm not seeing any of that initial separation that might be concerning me. So on the whole, this so far for quality is far better than most other stitched balls you're going to be looking at. But of course, this is $30 as against $130. So Moving on to the next comparison. The next thing I want to look at is the structure. So this is very much a traditional style football. And I don't just mean the aesthetics. Like, I love the aesthetics on this ball. I love the color. I love the lines. I think the whole way this looks is really, really nice. But what I mean is that the more modern way of constructing footballs has very much become these large panels. So these big sweeping panels with very few seams. So this is the current Nike top end flight ball, which comes in at about €150, $150, I think. And it has these big panels all thermal bonded together. And then this is the previous generation of Nike ball, the Merlin. And then if we take a look at this, sorry, it's not enough room on the desk. So this is the new Europa League ball. Again, takedown model, about $30. But even there, they've gone with this different pattern of various large shapes because it's the thing that's done currently. And generally, the idea is that this provides you with a rounder football and a more consistent ball. And I think that is true. There is not really any arguing when you look at the balls side by side. Any of these large panel footballs that they do appear rounder than the more traditional 32 panel football, especially one that is hand stitched, because you introduce imperfections to the ball that way. Now, for you and me, is that going to make much of a difference at all? The answer is no. You're not going to notice. It's just something to mention, to be aware of, that those large panels are the more technologically advanced way, whereas Hayworth Athletic have gone with revitalizing or keeping hold of this hand-stitched 32 panel football style, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I think that this delivers at a really high level. So let's talk about this ball itself a little bit. So you have obviously all the panels, and there is a nice amount of just kind of a little touch of kind of foam underneath the panels, which feels very, very premium. It doesn't feel bare and it doesn't feel cheap at all. It definitely has a level of quality that you can feel. Now, do be aware, this does say match quality built here, but there is no FIFA accreditation for balls on this. I don't put very much stock in these FIFA accreditations because generally they seem to be a way for FIFA to charge companies to put a logo on a ball that doesn't mean a huge amount. In terms of how this performs, it is very much in line with most other balls that are around the, say, 80 to 100, 120 euro or dollar price point. It has that same feeling, it has that same consistency, it has a good weight. Now, a lot of balls from smaller manufacturers or cheaper footballs, they tend to be a little bit flighty, kind of hit them and they don't have consistent flight and they get caught very easily, or they just fly, they kind of float up and away. This doesn't do that. It's very consistent, and one of the ways they do that is with these kind of dimples in the paneling here. The flight is true, the weight is good. The only thing I would say is that on here, it does say from 8 to 11 PSI. This absolutely has to be at the top end at 11 PSI. Anything lower than that, and it's just too soft. You've got to pump it up to that full 11 PSI. Obviously, it holds air very well. All positive, high quality things. However, there is one more thing that I want to compare it with. This is the Select Brilliant Super TB, which for me is the GOAT of footballs. This is the best football that you can go out and buy. Now, I haven't purchased or tried the new, ZT? So it's essentially a new way that Select have come up with to bond their balls together. I haven't tried it. It's the match ball for the Danish Superliga, and the Nordbet-Liga, which is the first division in Denmark. It was their official match ball. I haven't tried that one, but it's essentially this ball bonded differently. The TB on the Select stands for thermal bonded. Now, this is, for me, the best ball. I love this football. If all I could ever use was this football, I would be happy forever. And you can see it follows a reasonably similar design language to the Hayworth Athletic. It still uses those traditional style panels. The differences being, of course, the thermal bonding versus the stitching. However, this does have a more premium feeling, the way you strike it, the way it flies, the consistency, the weight. All of these things are just slightly better in the Select. That level of slight touch of foam is almost perfect underneath every single panel, and overall it is just more consistent because of that thermal bonding versus the stitching. And they are a very similar price. The Select Brilliant Super is around 150 euros at full price. You can pick them up on sale for under 100. This is where I think Hayworth have potentially a fight on their hands, because this is a great football. There is no doubt that this is a fantastic football, and that I am one that I'm definitely going to continue to use, and I have used a lot. And I think this is a great football. But I don't know how many balls Hayworth are going to be able to sell and convince people to buy, despite them being very, very good, when you can buy from a brand that people know, that is very, very accessible for generally less money. Nike balls, similar situation with their Flight, same with Adidas. Once they go on sale, they start to become a very attractive option. And for someone like Hayworth, even if they are to produce a ball that is better than Nike and Adidas, they don't have a Nike swoosh, they don't have 3 Adidas stripes, which is no fault of their own. It's just an incredibly difficult, very competitive market. So should you buy this football? I think it's well worth considering if you want to support a small company, if you're in the US, if you want to support a US-based company, and if you want to support something that is putting time and effort into a practice that may be dying off, this handcrafted, hand-stitched football. If that's something for you and you want a really high-quality product at the end of it, then definitely consider the Hayworth Athletic football. So I commend Hayworth Athletic for making a really great product while being focused on history, heritage, telling a great story, and trying to keep a particular skill set alive. I wish them all the best. I hope that people do go out and buy their products. However, I do think that they're going to struggle purely because they're a very small company in a very competitive market.